My name is Daniel, and I'm 29 years old. I live in a peaceful suburb near Asheville, North Carolina. Each morning begins with a strong cup of black tea, a quick scan through environmental news, and a scenic drive to the community planning office. I'm an urban forestry analyst working for a nonprofit focused on green infrastructure, a role many assume is just about planting trees, but it actually involves ecosystem research, urban design, consultation, and developing strategies to make cities more sustainable and livable. The morning mist still clings to the ground like a half-forgotten memory. My windshield reflects streaks of soft gold as I turn into the road lined with sycamores I helped save from being cut last winter. Everything around me says calm, stability roots. But deep down, I know something's shifted. It started with silence, not the peaceful kind that comes with solitude, but a strange humming void that took up space where warmth used to live. My family's group chat used to buzz with everything from grocery coupons to chaotic memes. Now it's just nothing. And I know exactly why. They don't say it, but they don't have to. I walked away from the role they assigned me. Growing up in my family felt like living inside a tightly scripted play. You're the smart one, the peacekeeper, the quiet achiever. Don't talk about dad's anger. Don't call out mom's manipulative guilt trips. Don't make things messy. I learned early how to wear the mask they approved of until one day I couldn't anymore. I left behind someone I should have let go of years ago, Aaron. Charming, generous in public, terrifying in private. It took me years to realize that love shouldn't feel like performance art. He had this talent for making every disagreement feel like my fault, every decision like his sacrifice. I used to think I needed to be more patient, more understanding. But the truth was, I needed to stop bleeding for someone who offered me thorns. When I finally left him, I expected grief, maybe even loneliness. But I also hoped for something small from my family, a sign of support, a hand on the shoulder, a word of comfort. What I got instead was silence. A silence that screamed, "Why would you break the illusion?" I guess I didn't realize just how much they liked him. Or maybe I didn't realize how much they needed me to stay broken to keep their version of family intact. I still remember the first dinner after the breakup. I showed up alone, and the air at the table felt brittle. My brother barely spoke. My mom asked if I was sure. My dad avoided eye contact, and nobody said they were proud of me. That night, I went home and sat in my kitchen for 2 hours staring at my untouched tea, wondering if I'd just made everything worse. And then I remembered the sound of Aaron slamming a door hard enough to rattle my bones. And I knew worse was staying. I started journaling that week. Not some fancy gratitude list, just truths. Like today I didn't apologize for breathing. Or I wore the shirt he used to hate and the world didn't end. It helped. Not a lot, but enough. My sister, the one person I thought would understand, texted me 2 days later. "Are you sure this is what healing looks like?" I stared at the message like it was a riddle. Healing looks like boundaries, like discomfort, like letting go of roles that keep you small. But I guess to her it looked like betrayal. Sometimes I wonder if families love who you are or who you pretend to be. It's a cruel kind of loneliness realizing that the people who watched you grow don't actually want you to grow too far. Especially when your growth means you'll stop tolerating what once passed for love. One night I stood in the shower and let the water hit my face until I couldn't tell if it was tears or steam. I remembered being 12 and comforting my mom while she cried in the pantry, then being told not to tell Dad. I remembered how Aaron used the word fragile to describe me like it was a flaw, not a warning. And I remembered that first moment of peace after he left the silence of my apartment that didn't feel like a threat. The quiet now is different. It's lonely, yes, but it doesn't echo like judgment. It doesn't carry the weight of expectation. And sometimes I even find comfort in it. You'd be amazed how people react when you stop playing your part in their drama. Some get angry, some go cold, but few ask why. Because the truth terrifies them that the version of you they liked was the one who abandoned himself. So here I am, Waking up, planting trees, drinking tea, and healing. Slowly, stubbornly. It's not loud, it's not Instagrammable, but it's mine. Share your thoughts about Nicole's decision. Was she being too harsh, or was she simply protecting herself after years of being hurt? This question invites you to reflect and share your perspective on setting boundaries in family relationships and the importance of self-love and self-respect. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Thank you for listening to Nicole's story. Don't forget to share your thoughts and stay tuned for more deep, meaningful stories. You start to notice the pattern once you've been on the outside long enough. Every "how are you" from your family now comes loaded with subtext like they're fishing for evidence that you regret walking away. You don't. Not even a little. But it doesn't mean it's been easy. One Saturday morning, you find yourself standing in the grocery store staring at two brands of almond butter paralyzed. Not because you care that much about almond butter, but because you used to buy whatever Aaron liked. You didn't even know which one you preferred, so you stand there frozen between aisle lighting and elevator music, thinking about how strange freedom feels when it shows up in moments like this. The worst part is the guilt that creeps in after the clarity. You find a new rhythm, slow weekends, long walks, quiet dinners, and suddenly a text from your mom pops up. Don't forget, family is everything, no context, just that. Like a curse wrapped in lace. You sit with it for a moment, your thumb hovering above the keyboard, wondering if she remembers all the times everything meant you had to shrink to fit in. You don't reply. Instead, you clean your apartment, light a lavender candle, and call your friend Mari. She's the one who sat on your couch the night Aaron moved out, her hands cradling a bottle of cheap wine like a baby. "I know this hurts," she said, "but you just unclipped your wings." You believed her then, and you believe her more now. Still, the ache is there, not sharp, just persistent. Like the buzz of a fridge at night. You try to push past it. At work, you dive into reports on urban shade coverage. You joke with coworkers. You schedule a hike for Sunday, but by Thursday your stomach knots when you see your sister's name on your phone. You let it ring. When you finally open the voicemail, her voice is syrupy sweet. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're okay. We were talking about Aaron the other day and, well, anyway, call me." You feel it again, that slow burn of being erased while still technically included. Like a background character in your own life. You remember the time she helped you move into your first apartment, balancing boxes and laughing about how grown up everything felt. You were close. She even cried at your graduation. But now she weaponizes nostalgia. "Remember when we all had dinner at the lake house?" she texted once. You do. You also remember Aaron yelling at you that night in the car because you made a joke about your salary. But of course she didn't see that part. That's the thing. They remember the events, not the atmosphere. The photos, not the feelings. And you start to realize your family's love was built on convenience. As long as you played the version of you that didn't ruffle feathers, they adored you. The second you stopped absorbing their discomfort, you became difficult. You start therapy. At first, it's weird. You're used to being the listener. But here, someone listens to you fully without side eyes or mid-sentence advice. You tell your therapist about the time your dad looked at you after Aaron left and said, "Real relationships take sacrifice." As if enduring cruelty was some badge of honor. As if leaving wasn't brave but selfish. She asks you, "What did you sacrifice?" You think about it. The answer comes slowly. "My voice, my safety, my sense of self." You almost laugh, but the weight of the truth makes your chest tighten. For the first time you name it, and naming it feels like a door creaking open. One night while folding laundry, you catch yourself smiling. It's small, a flicker really, but it's real. The shirt you're folding, it's your favorite now. Not because anyone else picked it, just because you like the way it feels. You realize you've gone an entire week without replaying an argument in your head, without explaining yourself to ghosts. And then, the family dinner. Your cousin graduates, and you're guilted into coming. It's important, your mom says. He looks up to you. You say yes partly because you miss your cousin, partly because you want to prove to yourself you're strong enough. You walk in wearing the shirt Aaron hated. You bring a homemade salad. You take a deep breath before ringing the bell. The door opens to a sea of smiles forced polite too wide. Your mom hugs you like you're a guest in your own home. Your sister avoids eye contact. And your dad, well, he says, "You look tired." You laugh. Not nervously, genuinely. You look around and realize nothing has changed. Except you. You eat. You chat. You smile when your cousin talks about his art. But you don't stay long. As you leave, your mom grabs your hand and says, "We just want what's best for you." You look at her and reply gently, "So do I." You drive home in silence. Not the buzzing, painful silence from before, but the kind that wraps around you like a soft blanket. You open your apartment door, take off your shoes, and sit on your couch with a cup of tea. This is your peace. It's quiet. It's yours. And for the first time in months, you don't second guess your choice. You wake up the next morning still thinking about that dinner. There's no single moment you can point to, no dramatic confrontation or shouting match. Just a thick, unspoken current beneath every word, every glance. The kind that makes you feel like a trespasser in a house you used to own. That morning, as you sip your tea and stare out the window, the memory of your father's words lingers. You look tired. You wonder if he meant it as concern or accusation, maybe both. You think back to childhood when being tired was something you weren't allowed to be. You had to smile, perform, endure. There's a picture in your hallway from your 12th birthday, you with a paper crown cake on your chin, eyes lit up like firecrackers. You stand before it now, studying your own face. That kid didn't know yet that love could be conditional, that being yourself might cost you your seat at the family table. Later that day, while cleaning out your inbox, you find an old email from your mom. The subject line reads, "Family Rules," dated 2 years ago. You remember it. She sent it after you'd missed Thanksgiving to attend a mental health retreat. She wrote things like, "We all have to sacrifice sometimes, and don't let therapy tell you family isn't sacred." You reread the message and feel that familiar tightness in your chest. How quickly support can be twisted into guilt. You used to believe her. You used to think protecting your peace meant betraying your blood. Now you know better. But knowing and healing are not the same thing. That weekend you accept an invitation from your coworker Jonah to join him and his friends for a picnic by the lake. It's nothing fancy. Sandwiches, blankets, the scent of sunscreen and crushed grass. But there's laughter, there's honesty. Someone plays an acoustic guitar badly, and you all cheer anyway. For the first time in what feels like forever, you laugh without checking who's watching. During a lull in conversation, Jonah asks, "So you don't talk to your folks much, huh?" You pause. It's not judgment in his voice, just curiosity. You give him the short version. "It got complicated when I stopped agreeing to their terms of love." He nods. Doesn't press. Just passes you a drink and says, "Glad you're here, man." And just like that, the loneliness softens. That night, you scroll through social media and see a photo your sister posted from the graduation dinner. Everyone's smiling, framed in fairy lights. You're cropped out, not in the background, not even tagged. It's subtle, the kind of erasure that's hard to explain without sounding paranoid. But you feel it like a bruise under the skin. You don't confront her. What would be the point? Instead, you start to write in your journal again. One sentence, "I'm not imaginary." You stare at it for a long time. The following week, you get a voicemail from your aunt, the one who always brings store-bought pie, but acts like she baked it. Her voice is syrupy and sharp. "We're all worried about you. Your mom says you've changed." You snort. You have changed. You've stopped accepting pain as proof of love. You've stopped pretending that enduring silence or sarcasm makes you noble. That's not losing your way, that's finally finding it. At work, you pour yourself into a new green corridor project. You meet with city council reps, draft canopy coverage maps, and lose yourself in the numbers. You realize you're good at this, not just technically, but emotionally. You help people see how spaces can breathe better. You're building things that last even as your own family ties crumble. You start to feel it, the quiet pride that comes from surviving something most people don't talk about. The strength of choosing boundaries over belonging. The way you carry yourself differently now, with shoulders not quite as hunched. But just as you're beginning to feel stable, the next storm arrives, a wedding invitation. Your cousin, the only family member who ever texted you a genuine "I'm proud of you," is getting married. The card is handwritten, beautiful. But then you see the note inside. Aaron will be there. You stare at it for a long time. He was always close with your uncle. Of course he'd be invited. But why include that detail? Why make it a test? You feel your pulse rise. Your brain runs simulations. What if he corners you? What if your family pretends nothing happened? What if they act like he's still one of them and you're the stranger you almost RSVP? No. But then you pause. Because maybe this isn't about him. Maybe this is your moment to reclaim space, to walk into a room and not flinch. So you write back, "I'll be there," wishing you and Maya a beautiful celebration. And you start planning your outfit not as armor, but as expression. You've spent so much of your life shrinking. Now you want to be seen. The weeks leading up to the wedding feel like walking a tightrope over a canyon of old wounds. Each day brings a new flashback: Aaron's laugh in your parents' kitchen, the way he used to squeeze your knee under the table when you said something he didn't like. You remind yourself that chapter is closed, but sometimes even closed books fall off the shelf when the ground shakes. You spend extra time choosing what to wear. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, least of all Aaron, but because this time the clothes are for you. A navy suit with a crisp white shirt, subtle but sharp. You catch your reflection before leaving and whisper, "You deserve to take up space." It's the kind of affirmation that feels awkward but necessary, like stretching before a run. The venue is charming, a lakeside garden framed with wildflowers and soft string lights. Guests mill about, laughing, sipping wine, hugging in bursts of reunion. You spot familiar faces, uncles, cousins, old neighbors. Most glance at you with a politeness that feels too polished. One cousin whispers, "Glad you could make it," like showing up was some heroic act. Then you see him. Aaron stands across the garden wearing the same smug expression he always had, like he's hosting the entire universe. He's talking to your sister. They're laughing. Your stomach tightens, but you steady your breath. This isn't about him. Not anymore. You walk past them without pausing. Your cousin greets you with a wide smile and an embrace that feels real. "Thanks for coming," he says. "Seriously, it means a lot." You nod, unsure if your throat can handle words. For a moment you feel anchored. The ceremony begins. It's beautiful, all soft vows and sun-dappled joy. But halfway through you catch Aaron looking at you. His eyes lock on yours for a moment too long. There's no smirk, no sneer, just a calculating stillness. You turn your gaze away. At dinner, you're placed 2 tables away from him, close enough to hear his voice when he gets animated, far enough to avoid direct interaction. But your family, they move around him like he's the guest of honor. Your mom even brings him a second slice of cake. You feel invisible. Again. Then comes the moment you feared, the group toast. The mic passes from hand to hand, sweet words, awkward jokes, tears. And then your dad takes the mic. He raises his glass and says, "I just want to honor not just the couple, but everyone who showed up today." It's easy to drift apart, but it takes real strength to stay connected. The words hit you like a slap. The subtext isn't subtle. Your ears ring. You see Aaron glance at you just slightly, as if enjoying the blow. You grip your glass and take a sip. Not to dull the pain, but to steady the rising heat inside. You've learned not to respond in fire. You've learned to endure the sting, without letting it rewrite your worth. After dinner, you slip away for a moment, standing near the water, watching the lights ripple across the lake. You close your eyes and let the silence sink in. Behind you, you hear footsteps. It's your sister. She doesn't say anything at first, just stands beside you looking out. Then she murmurs, "You really hurt Mom." You nod slowly, not turning to look at her. "Mom really hurt me," you reply. She sighs. "You could have tried harder." You finally turn eyes steady. "I tried so hard I forgot who I was." She flinches just slightly. You see the conflict in her, torn between loyalty and understanding. You want to reach for her. You want her to see the truth. But you also know clarity doesn't always come wrapped in reconciliation. You say gently, "I'm not asking anyone to choose sides. I just need space to breathe." She doesn't respond. But she doesn't walk away either. And somehow that's enough. As the night winds down, people start dancing. The music's too loud, the floor too crowded. You stay seated, sipping sparkling water. And then to your surprise, your cousin's new wife sits beside you. I heard she says, I don't know details, but I know family can be messy. You give her a tired smile. Yeah, it's layered. She looks at you with a kindness you didn't expect. "I think you're brave." Not everyone has the guts to protect themselves when it means being misunderstood. Her words settle over you like a soft blanket. You feel seen, not as a problem or a scandal or a shadow, just as a person trying to heal. Before you leave, you walk past Aaron. He says nothing. You don't either. But in that moment, your silence is louder than any apology he could fake. You drive home under a velvet sky, stars blinking like they know your secret. And when you step inside, kick off your shoes, and sit on your couch, something shifts. You realize you didn't survive the night. You reclaimed it. The next morning, your body feels heavy, not with regret, but with the weight of emotional exertion. Weddings are supposed to be joyful, but for you, last night felt like walking through a minefield with a smile. And yet, as the sunlight filters through your blinds, you realize you didn't just survive. You stayed true to yourself. That alone is a win. You get up slowly, make your tea, and settle by the window with your journal. You write, "I went. I saw. I didn't shrink." You pause. Then add, "They celebrated him. But I didn't disappear." A message buzzes on your phone. It's from your sister. "I've been thinking about what you said. Can we talk soon?" You don't know if it's a breakthrough or another detour through guilt. But it's something. A flicker. You respond simply, "Sure." The rest of the week passes quietly. You bury yourself in tree survey reports, take longer walks, and watch documentaries about ecosystems healing themselves after disaster. It hits you how similar recovery is: chaotic at first, then patient, layered, wild, and organic. Like your own life now. On Thursday, your sister calls. Her voice sounds softer than usual, like she's holding something fragile between her words. "I didn't want to make you feel like the enemy," she says. "You're quiet. Let her talk. I think I've been trying to keep the family image intact, but maybe I didn't want to see what was underneath it." You want to cry, not from sadness, but from relief. You say, "I get it. I used to protect the image too." There's a pause on her end, like she's absorbing the truth, letting it settle in her bones. "I miss you," she admits. And this time it doesn't sound like a manipulation. It sounds like grief. "I miss you too," you whisper. You don't rush to fix anything. You both just breathe. That weekend she invites you over. Just her. No parents, no big family performance. You bring flowers. She makes too much pasta. You sit on her back porch wrapped in blankets and late autumn air. You laugh about childhood memories, some real, some distorted. For a while it almost feels like home again. But then she asks, "Do you think Mom will ever understand?" You think about it. About the voicemail, the text, the silence. "Maybe not," you say, "but maybe we can still love her just from a safe distance." She nods. You both sip your tea in silence. A good silence this time, one that doesn't demand anything. Later, when you return home, you find yourself scrolling through old messages, some from Aaron still buried deep in your archive. One catches your eye. You make things harder than they have to be. You stare at it for a moment, then delete the entire thread. Not out of anger, but because you finally don't need to keep it anymore. The next day, you open your inbox and find another message from your mom. It's long, rambling, half guilt, half concern. She mentions church family values and how you used to be so kind. You read it slowly, not defensively, just curiously. There's a line that sticks with you. I don't know why you're pushing us away. And for the first time, you realize she really doesn't know. Her world never had room for boundaries, only obedience. You were raised to believe compliance was love, and now your refusal to bend looks like betrayal to her. You don't respond. Not yet. Not until your heart feels steady. Instead, you call Mari. You tell her about your sister, the dinner, the email. She listens like she always does, without judgment, just holding space. You know she says healing doesn't mean everyone gets to come with you. You nod even though she can't see it. Yeah, you reply. But I'm starting to believe I get to choose who does. That night you do something strange. You dance alone in your apartment. Just you, barefoot, music, low body moving without choreography. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not performing. You're just being. You laugh mid-twirl, remembering how Aaron used to make fun of the way you danced. Too loose, he'd say, like a cartoon character. You used to stop dancing after that. You never should have. When you fall into bed, cheeks flushed, you feel something shift. Not a huge breakthrough. Just joy. Simple, rare joy. The next morning, you write another journal entry. I am no longer the villain in their story. I just stopped playing their script. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're rebuilding. And with every step you take, however small, you're choosing freedom over familiarity. Peace over permission. Love that expands, not controls. It's a Tuesday afternoon when your phone rings, and you see the name you haven't spoken aloud in weeks, Mom. You stare at the screen as it vibrates, your thumb hovering. This isn't the first time she's called since the wedding, but it's the first time you consider answering. Not out of guilt, but out of curiosity. Maybe even hope. You pick up. Her voice comes through soft, almost tentative. Hi, honey. Just wanted to hear your voice. It's disarming. Disorienting even. You expected defensiveness, maybe accusations. But her tone is quiet, like she's searching for a version of you she doesn't quite recognize anymore. I'm here, you say. Your own voice sounds different too, grounded, not tense. She talks about nothing at first, the garden, a neighbor's new dog, some church event. You let her. Let the small talk build a bridge. And then, after a pause, she says, your sister told me you've been struggling. You exhale slowly, eyes fixed on a crack in your ceiling you've never noticed before. I haven't been struggling. I've been healing. Silence. Then, it's just hard. You were always so strong. No, Mom, you reply gently. I was always so silent. She doesn't argue. That in itself is new. You think maybe she's beginning to understand that strength isn't about swallowing pain, it's about facing it, and sometimes walking away from it. The conversation ends without resolution. No apologies, no epiphanies, just a soft, I love you, and your honest reply, I know, I love you too. But I need time. You hang up and feel your pulse steady. Not because she gave you what you needed, but because you did. That night, you dream of your childhood home. It's always the same hallway, always the same door you never opened as a kid. In the dream, you finally do. And inside, it's just a mirror. You look at yourself. You don't flinch. The next few days pass with a sense of quiet clarity. You begin to declutter not just your closet, but your life. Old gifts from Aaron family keepsakes that feel more like anchors than heirlooms. You donate what you can toss, what you can't. Your apartment begins to reflect your present, not your past. You even find a photo of yourself from college alone at the beach, wind-whipped and grinning. You frame it, place it above your desk. That version of you is already yearning for freedom, already asking deeper questions. You're proud of him now. Then the unexpected happens. You get a message from Aaron. It's short. Heard about the wedding. Hope you're doing okay. You stare at it for a long time. Not because you're tempted to respond, but because part of you is still stunned. He had the nerve. The nerve to act like things were ever neutral. Like he was just an old friend, not the architect of your self-doubt. You don't reply. Instead, you block his number. A quiet click. Final. You whisper to the room, I'm not here for unfinished ghosts. Later you tell Mari. She cheers. That's the kind of peace you don't trade, she says. The kind you defend. You realize something then. For so long you were afraid that setting boundaries meant building walls. But boundaries are doors, ones you get to lock, unlock, and open by choice. That distinction changes everything. On Sunday you visit a local art fair. You walk among strangers, touching fabrics, admiring paintings, sipping coffee. You buy a small print, a tree with roots shaped like a heart. It reminds you of the work you do, but also of yourself. You hang it above your bed, a reminder that you don't need to justify your growth to anyone. You've earned every inch of the soil you now call home. And then something small but profound happens. You get a letter. An actual letter. Handwritten. From your dad. You hesitate before opening it. The envelope is heavy, deliberate. Inside, it's short. Barely 4 lines. Daniel, I still don't understand everything, but I see you're standing firm. That takes guts. More than I had at your age. Be safe. Dad. You read it 3 times. It's not an apology. It's not even an acknowledgement of the past, but it's a crack in the stone. And maybe that's where the light begins to filter in. That night you write in your journal. The silence is changing. It's no longer empty. It's echoing with the sound of something new trying to grow. You put down the pen, crawl into bed, and smile into the dark. You didn't win them back. But you didn't lose yourself, and that finally feels enough. Your father's letter sits on the kitchen counter for days. You don't move it. You don't hide it either. It just lives there like a quiet symbol of something incomplete, but no longer broken. Every time you pass it, a small part of you wonders, does he mean it? And then another part, steadier now, whispers back, it doesn't matter. You're not waiting for them to catch up. You keep going. You water your plants, turn in reports, help design a new green space for an underfunded school district. Your calendar fills with things that matter, not to impress, but to nourish. The best part is you no longer perform, you participate. One morning as you prep for a site meeting, your phone buzzes again. This time it's not family. It's him, Aaron's name again, only now through a new number. The message is longer. I'm sorry for how things ended. I've been working on myself. I just wanted you to know I never meant to hurt you. You stare at it without emotion. You remember the time he yelled because your voicemail greeting was too upbeat. The time he accused you of being too friendly to the barista. The time he told you that your dreams were cute but unrealistic. You remember shrinking physically, emotionally, until the mirror didn't even recognize you. So you do something different this time. You reply, thank you for saying that. I hope your growth is real. But I'm not available for reconnections. Please don't contact me again. You hit send, and you don't tremble. That afternoon your therapist says, that was closure, not conversation, and there's power in that. You nod. You've stopped needing mutual understanding to move on. You don't require permission to protect your peace. It feels strange, but also like breathing for the first time without someone pressing your chest. Later that week, your sister invites you to a book club she's starting, just a few friends and some tea. You hesitate. Not because you don't want to go, but because you're still learning how to trust softness when it comes from your own blood. But you say yes. The night of the gathering, you arrive early. She opens the door with that same old smile, the one from when you were both kids sneaking cookies after bedtime. Inside, the room smells like cinnamon and cardamom. There are blankets, candles, half-filled mugs. It's intimate, easy. You sit in a circle with people you don't know, reading passages from a novel about resilience. At one point, your sister says, there's this part where the main character says, sometimes survival looks like selfishness to those who benefited from your silence. Then she glances at you, eyes soft. You don't speak. You just hold her gaze. After everyone leaves, she walks you to the door. I didn't get it before, she says. But I'm trying. You believe her. Driving home, you think about how much energy you used to spend explaining yourself, dissecting your choices, defending your pain. Now you simply live, and people either walk with you or they don't. You pass your old neighborhood and on impulse take a detour. You park outside your childhood home. It's been painted a new color. The front porch looks smaller than you remember. You don't get out. You don't need to. You just sit there for a moment, acknowledging the ghosts that no longer own you. Back at your apartment, you cook a meal for yourself, something new, something bold, something Aaron would have hated. You play music he used to call noise. You dance in the kitchen. That night you write, I'm not healing to be loved, I'm healing to be free. The next morning you get a call from your cousin, the one who got married. He says, I wanted to say thanks again for coming. And for being yourself. You laugh. You make that sound like a radical act. Honestly, he replies, it kind of is. You hang up smiling. Because it is. This version of you, the one who doesn't shrink, who draws lines, not as punishment but as preservation, is still new, still growing. But he's strong. He's here. And he's not going anywhere. The days begin to stretch longer. The air thick with the promise of summer. In years past, this season always came with expectation barbecues at your parents' house, family reunions where the laughter was loud, but rarely sincere. Now the calendar is quieter, and so is your soul. That silence isn't loneliness anymore. It's space. You've started biking again. Just you, the path and the wind. It's a strange sort of therapy, pushing your body forward while your thoughts drift backward. Each mile gives you a little more clarity, like you're pedaling your way out of the shadows of your old life. One Sunday morning, while refilling your water bottle at the park, someone calls your name. You turn to find an old friend, Emma, someone you haven't seen since before Aaron. Back then, she was your closest confidant, until he gradually edged her out like he did with so many things you loved. You catch up over iced coffee. She asks how you've been, and you don't know where to begin. So you tell the truth in pieces. She listens. Really listens. No pity, no gasps, just understanding. Then she says, I knew something was wrong back then. But you were so good at hiding. You nod. I was hiding from myself too. Emma reaches across the table and squeezes your hand. You look lighter now. Later you replay those words in your head. Lighter. Like something once buried has finally been set down. You didn't even realize how heavy the act of pretending had become until you stopped doing it. The next day you receive a photo from your mom, a picture of the garden. Roses in bloom. A small caption. Thought you'd like to see them. You planted these. You stare at the image, unsure what to feel. There's no apology. No mention of the things left unsaid. Just flowers. Maybe that's her way of speaking now. You reply, they look beautiful. Glad they're still thriving. It's a civil exchange. Not closure, but not combat. You take it as a sign that something might be softening in her, maybe, but definitely in you. That week, your sister drops by with a book she thinks you'd love. It's about nature and memory, about how landscapes hold stories. Felt like your vibe, she says. You laugh. It's awkward but honest. There's a pause, then she adds, I think Mom's trying in her own slow way. You nod. So am I. She hugs you goodbye and you don't freeze like you used to. You let her in just a little, one breath at a time. Then comes a message from an unexpected number, your uncle. You almost delete it unread, but curiosity wins. It says, I don't know the whole story, but I know strength when I see it. Just wanted you to hear that from someone who's watching and learning. It's the shortest message you'll remember for the longest time. By Friday, you sit on your balcony with a journal and a glass of wine. The sunset paints everything gold. You write, "It's not that I want them to apologize anymore. I just want to live without needing it." You pause, then add, "I forgive them." Quietly, but fully. It feels strange admitting that, like letting go of the last rope tying you to your old role in the family. But the peace that follows is undeniable. Forgiveness isn't always about inviting someone back in. Sometimes it's just about unclenching your own fists. That weekend, you host your first dinner in a long time. Just a few close friends, laughter echoing off the walls, a playlist that's unapologetically yours. No tension, no walking on eggshells, just joy. At one point, Mari raises her glass and says, "To Daniel for choosing truth over tradition, peace over pressure, and himself over performance." Everyone cheers. You try to hide your grin, but it slips through anyway. You didn't set out to reinvent your life. You just wanted to stop bleeding for people who called it love. But somewhere along the way, you found something better than the life you lost. You found the one you built. It's quieter, simpler, but it's yours. And you're finally home in it. It's a warm Thursday evening when you find yourself standing in front of the mirror, dressed for a panel event your nonprofit is hosting downtown. The reflection looking back at you is different from the one you knew a year ago. Not just older, not just calmer, but claimed. You button your collar slowly, not because you're nervous, but because you've learned that showing up as yourself deserves care. The event is about urban renewal and community wellness topics you used to bury yourself in when things at home were falling apart. But tonight, there's no escape motive. This time, you're speaking from wholeness, not from hiding. You open with a story about a neglected park you helped revive. You describe the way the first tree was planted, how the kids in the neighborhood named it Hope. You watch the audience nod. You don't overperform. You don't apologize. You just speak. And when the applause comes, it's not thunderous, it's real. Afterwards, a woman approaches you. "I don't usually come to things like this," she says, "but your words felt lived in, like truth that took time." You thank her. But more than that, you carry her words with you the whole walk home. That night, you open your window and let the spring air spill in. You sit on your floor legs crossed and let yourself remember, not with pain, but with clarity. You think about the night Aaron first told you no one else would love you like he did. You remember believing him. You remember how that belief sunk its teeth into your bones and shaped the way you begged for affection from your family, even when it came laced with barbs. But now you don't beg. You don't bend. You don't barter your voice for a seat at any table. Your phone buzzes. It's a group message, your sister, your cousin, and even your mom. Just a recipe this time. Something harmless. You don't reply, but you don't mute the thread either. It's strange how healing makes room for quiet tolerances. You don't expect full reconciliation, but you're no longer haunted by the absence of it. You remember something Mari said once: closure isn't a door that locks behind you. It's the moment you realize you don't have to knock anymore. The following weekend, you attend a local storytelling event. You don't sign up to speak, but halfway through, you feel the tug, the pulse that says your story belongs here too. On impulse, you put your name down. When you step onto the stage, it's dark beyond the lights. You breathe in. Then you begin. You don't talk about names. You don't detail every wound. You just speak about love, about silence, about the moment you realized survival isn't selfish. It's sacred. You end with a line you didn't plan. Sometimes healing means becoming the person your past would have been afraid of. The room is still. Then a single clap. Then more. You step down, not feeling triumphant, just free. On your way out, someone stops you. "That was brave," she says. You smile. It was overdue. That night, you write again. This time, only one sentence: "I forgive myself for staying too long in places that dimmed me." And just like that, another weight lifts. You realize you're not rebuilding a version of your old life. You're creating something entirely new. Something where love isn't currency, and silence isn't survival. something that makes space for truth, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. You get into bed, the sheets cool against your skin, and feel the kind of tired that only comes after carrying your own heart through a storm. As you close your eyes, you whisper, "I'm proud of you. No one else needs to say it, because this time, you mean it." The morning sun filters in like a blessing, slow, unhurried, warm. You stretch without urgency, then pad to the kitchen for your usual tea. There's music playing softly in the background, a playlist of songs you once felt embarrassed to enjoy because they didn't fit the image others had of you. Now they fill your space with comfort. Freedom has a sound. This is what it sounds like. You check your calendar. No calls with family, no awkward obligations, no sitting through conversations that twist your words or leave you doubting your worth. The space is yours, every minute fully chosen. As you sit on your balcony, tea in hand, your phone buzzes again. This time it's your mom. A picture of an old family recipe card yellowed with age corner curled. Her message says, "Found this. Thought of you." You stare at it for a while. It's not an olive branch, not exactly. But maybe it's a leaf. A small, brittle sign that something still connects you, even if the roots are shallow, even if the branches grew crooked. You don't reply. Not out of bitterness, but because not every message requires a response. Some things are just meant to be acknowledged, gently, and then released. That afternoon, you meet Emma and Jonah at a local plant nursery. You laugh over succulents with names you can't pronounce and pick out a bright spiraling fern to place near your desk. "Looks like your energy," Emma says. "Strong but always reaching." You smile. It's the kind of compliment that doesn't just sit on the surface, it soaks in. When you get home, you place the fern next to your computer and notice something strange. For the first time, your apartment feels permanent. Not a hiding place, not a pause, but a home. A reflection of who you are now, not just what you've been through. Later that week, a coworker asks if you'd be open to mentoring a new hire. The question catches you off guard. You've spent so much time rebuilding that you hadn't noticed how far you've come. "Yes," you say, "I'd like that." Because now you have something to give that isn't tinged with fear or need just wisdom, just experience. You tell your mentee that growth is messy, that healing isn't a straight line, that sometimes the people who love us also hurt us, and that walking away isn't always weakness, often it's the strongest thing you'll ever do. She nods like she's been waiting to hear that. That weekend, your sister visits again. She brings an old photo album. "I figured we could flip through it. Maybe make space for both the good and the hard." You hesitate, then agree. You spend hours revisiting birthdays, awkward haircuts, vacations where someone was always just out of frame. You point to one and laugh. "That was the day Dad yelled at me for spilling juice, and I cried in the garage." Your sister goes quiet. "I never knew," she says. "I didn't want you to," you reply. "But maybe we should start telling the full stories now." She nods. That night she texts you, "Thanks for letting me in. I'm proud of who you are now, not just who you were." You stare at the message. It's the first time those words, "I'm proud of you," didn't feel like manipulation or pity. They feel earned. They feel like grace. The next morning, you walk past the old framed photo of you at the beach and place a new one beside it, a candid from the wedding, your cousin's wife snapping it mid-laughter. You're smiling with your whole face, surrounded by people who see you, not just need you. Two photos, two versions of you, both real, one surviving, the other becoming. You look around your home, at the books stacked carelessly, the art you chose for no reason other than it made you feel something, the mismatched mugs, the fern basking in the light. You whisper, "This is mine." You open your journal one last time. You write, "I don't need to be understood by everyone to be at peace with myself. I don't need to belong to a family that only loves the version of me they control. I belong to myself now, and that is enough." You close the book, not just the journal, the story. This chapter, this long, winding road through confusion and anger and grief and courage, and in its place, something new begins. A soft breath, a still room, a quiet smile. Thank you for listening to Nicole's story. Don't forget to share your thoughts and stay tuned for more deep, meaningful stories.